You don't want to know. Yeah. I'll slide back. All right, let's call the meeting to order. We need approval of the agenda. So Tracy is nothing, I just emptied those two. Don't take that. All right, can you hear me on this one? Okay. Was there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, yeah. All those in favor then say aye. Opposed the same. Approval of the minutes, March 11th, 2020. Is there a motion to approve?
I can make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, Doug, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Brad. Hearing no corrections or anything, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay. We're going to shoot for public comment. 3 minutes, half an hour. So we will start with that now then. If there's anybody with public comment that's either called in or whatever, I don't see anybody in the West Conference Room, or is there someone? Who's that staff? Okay. Oh, sure. So do we have any call-ins or anything? Do we have any call-ins for public comment?
Yes, this is Nancy Lowe with Friends of the Gandy Dancer Trail, calling in.
We lose it? Go ahead then, Nancy, make your comment.
Yes, I just wanted to let Polk County know that the trail is being used with all of the folks being at home. This is an activity that is something that they can get outside and enjoy. And we are also still promoting activities that enlighten the social distancing, but also give people a chance to get some exercise. So we still have some activities going on. That's it.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else on public comment? Anyone else? We'll go. Well, hearing no other ones, we will close public comment. Number 5, Mr. Nelson's here. He's not going to speak. Okay, he's the only other one. Is there anyone out there that wants to speak? Any other supervisor that wants to make any comment? Anyone else? Okay, this is part of it. If you just are tuning in or listening, you'd also have to mute your mic on your end if you're not speaking, or on your computer video. Hit the mute icon. By phone, press the number 6 to mute it. Star 6, excuse me. To mute it on your phone.
Yes, Dave.
And to unmute it.
I'm on a meeting and your voice is very loud. I do, but until I could comment, I couldn't.
Who do we have?
Okay.
So your comment was my voice? Someone has to mute their...
Oh.
William, can you mute your phone, or please, or your video? Did you mute? Okay, you did. All right. We will have Park and Rex come up then, number 6. Yeah.
How about now? Okay, good morning. First thing I'd like to talk about here is the Sour Seven Lakes Master Plan public comment survey results. We had email comments come in, and we also had the Survey Monkey survey online. So this is just a brief PowerPoint here to show the results. If you could flip to the next page, please. That's what we just talked about there. Next one. Ooh, that's not so great. Could you maybe go to the Polk County website? For some reason, that's not coming through.
Have you played? What did you play?
Their game uses the letters too much, not the sounds.
Oh, shit show.
I need to.
We'd like
And I often talk on the iPad for my daughter not to lose traction at home, and she won't trust and that's it.
You can do that by pressing *6.
That's okay.
But
Trails. And then on the left margin is the Sour Seven Lakes Master Plan. Down. Right there. About middle of the page here. Going down. Okay. The very bottom line there. Public opinion results. Yep. Okay. Oh, it is. Oh, it saves the PDF there. I see. Okay. Monkey results were tallied by people have the opportunity to vote or not a vote, to select which alternative they preferred. SA1, SA2, SA3, SA4. And just to remind you of those, SA1 is allowing snowmobiles on SA1 is do not allow snowmobiles on any portion of the corridor. SA2 is do not allow snowmobiles on any portion of the corridor, but utilize the shoulder trails along the road. SA3 is allow snowmobiles on any portion of the corridor with no changes to the existing trail. SA4 is allow snowmobiles on the corridor on separate or shared trails. Okay. And I'll just talk about the snowmobile ones first here. SA3 was by far and away the most selected option with 1,459 votes out of 5,496 surveys taken. Second will be SA1, which is don't allow any snowmobiles on the corridor, with 802. And then the last two were pretty close at 223 and 215 for the shared trail and then separate trails along the corridor. The equestrian alternatives were a little bit tighter. Equestrian alternative 1 was do not allow any equestrians on any portion of the corridor. That had, can't see it at all, 1,500 votes. EA2, which was allow equestrians on the entire corridor with no changes to the trail surface, had the most votes, and I can't see it on there. And then EA3 was allow equestrians on the corridor on separate trails. And I sure wish I could see it on there. Are you able to pull it up just to reference it? The one online. Oh. Oh, there we go. Are the folks tuning in online able to see what we just put on the screen?
No.
No.
Yes.
It's working now. Great. Thank you. Okay, so now that everybody can see these, I'll run through them super quick again. The two with the highest tallies were SA3, which is allowing snowmobiles on any portion of the corridor with no changes to the trail surface. And the equestrian alternative with the highest number was EA2, which is allowing equestrians on the entire corridor with no changes to the trail surface. Anybody have any questions on those slides? Okay, we move on to the next one. And this is the public comment email submissions that we received. Notice the results don't match the SurveyMonkey results. On the email public comments, the one with the most likes or votes was SA1, which is do not allow snowmobiles on any portion of the corridor, as well as the equestrian alternative, option 1, which is not allow equestrians on any portion of the corridor. And these were the email submissions that we took in. Those two, the snowmobile option has 173, and the equestrian option has 124 people that noted that. The other, SA3 was the second option, which is allowing snowmobiles on the corridor with no changes to the trail surface. That had 48 folks that wanted that. And then equestrian option 2 is allowing equestrians on the trail with no changes to the trail surface with 29. So there was a difference. There was a difference in the survey results and the email submissions that we received at the county. Go to the next slide. This is the totals of the two pieces of information put together. Because of the email results, we have 5,600 survey results. That's going to show here, and the totals are the SA3 allowing snowmobiles on the trail and EA2 allowing equestrians on the trail are the two options that people selected the most. Is there any questions with that? No? That will wrap up our public comment for the presentation of public comment. Do you have the document that Bob sent this morning with the trail advisory? Handy to pull it up. I do have a couple of copies too. You guys want paper copies? I don't know. It's that one right there.
Okay, so that's, okay, the second part of this, yes. Still need the final public hearing. Okay. To announce it. Okay.
Okay. So the next part here is the Polk County Trails Advisory Committee. This is something that has been talked about a little bit, bringing members of the community, members from all these different trail organizations in to help advise and help plan and help work on issues, operations, and maintenance and planning of our trail networks in Polk County. I won't read this word for word, but I can send it out unless you want me to read it, I guess. But basically, this group ideally will be comprised of two stakeholders from each of these groups. Groups like the Friends of the Gandy, the Snowmobile Club, the Equestrian folks, Cross Country Ski, the Woolly Bike Club. Anybody that has anything to do with trails in Polk County will have a seat at this table, as well as a member or two of the committee, if that's the direction we want to go. Hopefully this group will be able to identify opportunities and challenges and work together through maybe monthly or bi-monthly meetings to help get a plan in place and maybe a 5 or 10 year work plan on the trails in the county, as opposed to having more of a myopic resource-based discussion on one particular resource and then move on to the next one. We can do it as a big picture planning type of deal. What I'm asking from the committee is someone to put forth a resolution that all trail recommendations or discussions will come forth out of this advisory committee. That will help give this committee a little bit of, stake in the game as far as coming to the table and being involved. So that's it in a nutshell. Are there any questions on the committee?
So we'll have to set something up for the trail advisory, just for the committee members. We'll have to make a list and get people to come in, do whatever, send in, how you want to set that up. I mean, for somebody that wants to be on this committee.
Sure. I have commitments from a lot of the groups. Everybody that I've talked to so far has said, yeah, this is a great idea. We want to be a part of this.
Okay.
So the next step now is just letting these folks know when and where to show up or how to show up now.
Oh, sure. I might have to ask Vince or someone, does this come from Highway too, that they want?
Could I speak to that? Public safety and highway, we did discuss this. So I'm curious to know where that has gone. Maybe the administrator knows the answer. The question is, I'm trying to get out of that zone here. The question is, when we had our public safety and highway meeting, the chairman was trying to set up a committee just to deal with ATVs and UTVs to increase tourism and make it more user-friendly here in Polk County.
I think what we're proposing here is that this advisory committee would not be simply for ATVs and snowmobiles, but rather all. Our hope is that in the long term we can have an overarching strategy on trails, and so therefore it doesn't make a lot of sense in our minds to let's have a snowmobile committee, let's have a horse committee, a bicycle committee. Rather, let's put a comprehensive committee together which can look at this in a combined way so that we don't have certain groups and all of a sudden get organized and boom, make a decision and we have these big battles. We'd rather this committee work together in a holistic manner so that when they can come and make recommendations to this committee or the board, those issues have been worked out to some extent. I don't know if I've answered your question.
Are you going to discuss that? You should.
This could be a pretty good committee. Have some else structure or something. It could get pretty good size. An ad hoc committee or something, couldn't it?
It could. It has the potential to be a fairly large committee with such diverse,
With that
trail groups in the county. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's something we'd have to kind of sit down and lay out.
Yeah, I think this is a long Is it on? It is. Okay. Right. This concept, and it's just conceptual right now, is a way to build relationships with all the user groups. And I think staff has a pretty good idea of all the user groups and those individuals that can represent those user groups that can serve on the trail advisory committee. That's the first step is building relationships and understanding each user group, because as we've learned, some user groups are either competing or conflicting or compatible. And by getting everyone together, I think we could have a better understanding of each other's needs. We can work together in identifying what trail networks can be shared, what ones need to be segregated. This group could also be instrumental as a steering committee for a county-wide or regional-wide trail network. And also, like Dennis mentioned, working through our MOUs and the trail maintenance. And is that better? No? Okay. Working with trail maintenance and trail needs. The thing is, the challenge is they need to be empowered. And Ben's suggestion is creating, whether it comes from this committee or another committee, some type of enabling resolution that not only creates this committee, but mandates all trail-related issues or recommendations are vetted or come from this Trail Advisory Committee. I think there's some real efficiencies that could be had there, and also a great approach to building consensus. So that's, again, the concept. Not only will they be advisory, but also assist with the trail operations and maintenance.
Mr. Olson? So what makes us think that these groups are going to get along together now to bring anything out of, if it has to go to that committee and then come out of that committee to either come to this committee or the county board, what's the repercussions to that committee if nothing ever comes out of it? If somebody says, let's do this, and that committee butts heads for months or years, anything that anybody wants could just end up stalled if it has to eventually come out of that committee to get to a county board committee or eventually the county board. It could be like it's been for the last 30 years in Polk County. It's just the two sides button heads and nobody willing to move. I would hope that wouldn't happen, but it's happened for the last 30 years here. So I like the idea. I'm skeptical.
It's worth trying, and naturally we'll have some facilitators, particularly in those initial meetings. We'll probably start out with a mission statement, something everyone could contribute to and agree upon, and then from there, that process, work on a strategic plan. And that's a great way to just not only build consensus, but also create a plan that everyone can agree upon and we can use as a guiding document and make shared decisions. So I think that's the approach we will take, and we're going to use some of our staff to do that. But yeah, there'll be some need to do some conflict resolution. But I think just through the education and the awareness of each other's needs and interests could really build some capacity to work together. So it's, again, an attempt to build relationships, get everyone collectively together, and try to determine some shared goals.
Are we able to speak on this?
No, public comment period is over. So, would you write something up or start something then? To do like the 5 bullet points that are up there? You know, the funding, some of that stuff or whatever?
The 5 bullet
lay
points.
it out?
Yeah, the 5 bullet points were just a
starting point.
General starting point. I had figured we could talk about kind of easy issues like maintenance and things that these different groups can agree on and build some consensus, you build some buy-in with the group, and then move on to a little more contentious topics. But the bullet points would be a good place to start.
Okay. But I mean, we should get something in writing kind of before we do a resolution and see how it's going to be set up so that we all know what we're looking at. That makes sense. to everybody. I mean, at least lay it out a little better.
Sure.
You know, so that we're ready and we can look at it that way. If that helps.
There is a proposal sort of outline for the initial meeting, with some basic goals. So if you'd like for a more formal proposal of this concept, we could certainly put that together.
What is everyone else say? I think we need a little bit before we do a resolution. Okay. Oh, can you hear it now? All right. All right. Any other discussion on that one? Then I wonder, do we bring in the highway, those guys too, to see if that's kind of what they want too? That's what they want, we're looking for? No? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, coming out of highway, they felt if we did just a single group, which is the ATVs, UTVs, we could accomplish more in that line. And I don't want to speak for the chairman of that committee, so I think that should be, I was asking the administrator if he would do that. Because the intent out of that committee was to deal with one group and try and set up more trails for that group and more opportunities.
Okay. So separate from what we're trying to do. Okay. All right. No other questions of Ben? Then you're good to go. Thank you. Number 7, Mr. Mark. At 7, it's an 8. Okay. That's fine. Can everyone see what's on the computer today on the screen right now? It should be Chapter 700, Roads and Access, for the County Forest Comprehensive Land.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Going. Yep. I've got those.
not working on the mic. There we go. Good morning. Today's agenda, I guess, will go over 700 and 800 associated with the 15-year plan. As we left off the last time, essentially I skipped up a little bit and we did chapter 900. Wasn't trying to confuse everyone, but a lot of that dealt with roads, recreational trails, etc. Returning back to 700, this chapter deals exclusively pretty much with access to some of the features associated with the forest. And one of the things I'll jump right into, and if we could fast forward on the screen there, if we could get to page number page number 5, please. The title of it would be Permanent Primary Forest Roads. Keep going down. Keep going. Oh, back to right there. So essentially the forest has 3 classifications of roads. This is for your guys' information benefit. The first would be what we call permanent forest roads, of which those are roads that are in place in lieu of like a county road, a township road, etc. The forestry department actually receives just over $300 a mile to maintain them. Essentially, there's just over 8 miles of forest roads, so essentially we have to mow them, we have to keep them in good shape, and the main thing is to keep in mind in any planning exercise associated with the permanent forest roads is they cannot be closed to vehicle traffic because we are receiving that gas tax dollars. Now you can run snowmobiles, you can run ATVs alongside them, but you cannot close it to vehicle traffic. So we can't make it a designated snowmobile trail only. You can have snowmobiles and vehicles, but it can't be a designated ATV trail, a dedicated snowmobile trail. Moving on, fast forward 1 page, please. That would be a summary of the miles. Next page, please. And there it is. I said almost 8 miles. Go ahead.
Do we grade them ourselves, or do we work with the towns that they're in to have them grade them?
So basically, in the town, if you pull the map, it's labeled Lorraine. This one here. We won't jump to that. But essentially, the roads highlighted, I didn't provide today the entire road system within the forest, but to use the map in Lorraine as an example, that would be Sand Creek Trail. Basically, I have the highway department grade, mow, all gravel in there. So basically, they do the work and they send me a bill. And that comes right out of the forestry gas tax dollar fund. In the town of Sterling, this year I plan on working with the town of Sterling. I talked a little bit with the highway department. We can't justify putting a road grader on a lowboy, hauling it out there when the town of Sterling is going to do the work. So this year they're going to be grading the gas tax roads out there. In addition to it, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail, but we have the capability of applying for additional gas tax dollars, getting more roads funded. In the long-term plan, I identified 2 areas just with this setup here. I can't switch on my computer and go back and forth, but within the plan, just something for you to pay attention to would be that is an option to apply for additional funds to get more gas tax roads and identify approximately a mile. The second type of road would be secondary roads. A lot of our snowmobile trails are secondary roads. Yeah, get caught up on the, right there, up where it was red. I don't know if you can move down or move the, where we get the heading of, secondary roads. There we go. That's part of it. It's getting cut off. I apologize. But, essentially, a lot of the secondary roads are, in fact, snowmobile trails. So the Snowmobile Council, they do a great job in aiding in the maintenance of that to keep up the trail standards. Not all the secondary roads on your maps, whether it be Sterling or Lorraine, they would be indicated in blue. So from a forestry standpoint, those roads serve as kind of main arteries to the forest as haul roads. Currently, there's no budget allocation to maintain those roads. A lot of times when I come to the committee in October, to the county board in November for the variable acreage share loan, that's what I'm using that kind of money for. And I'm kind of jumping around here, but this ties back to one of the items that we discussed in Chapter 300. Statutorily, we are required to pay 10% of the gross receipts associated with timber sales to all the townships where we own county forest land. Polk County is currently paying 30%. Again, statutorily, we are only required to pay 10%. We're paying 30%. The forestry department does not have any funds to maintain secondary roads outside of snowmobile clubs and loggers when we have a timber sale. I made the suggestion in Chapter 300 that we might want to think about maybe rolling that back to 20%. I guess when we can get together and before I put this out to a final draft, that is one thing we're going to visit again. So this is just where it all kind of ties into each other. So moving on to the last type of road would just be the temporary roads, and what those are is basically a spur off of a primary or secondary road. Essentially, we open them up, get a logging job cut. They may remain open. There's no maintenance on them. We don't mow them. We don't try to keep them open. A lot of times, in fact, they are closed to avoid garbage dumping, etc. So those would be the black dotted lines that you see on the two maps that I handed out just as an example. The last thing I want to talk about, and I'll open it up to questions, is essentially our roads in itself. And one of the things that the GIS department is working on is more formal type of signing, whether that be throughout the county. And being that our roads are kind of so arbitrary, I guess, within the forest, there's a lot of dead ends. Just throwing out there that in the next 15 years, we may be implementing some type of posting that has GPS coordinates on it. So some without snowmobile riding, ATV riding, hunting, what have you. There's some reference points with some emergency signs that have GPS coordinates. So I guess the forest is on board with that, and we will implement whatever the Polk County decides to implement on the emergency management side of things. So other than that, a lot of this we did talk about in Chapter 900 because the roads and trails kind of tie together in Chapter 900. But, the permanent, secondary, primary roads are the main things to talk about that. I guess before we move on to Chapter 700, does anyone have any questions? Okay. And if we could close out 700 into 800. there probably isn't a whole lot of discussion. I don't know if you guys had a chance to read it or not, but essentially this is part of the plan, and again, I'm just following a statewide template that the DNR expects associated with this update for the 15-year plan. What Chapter 800 deals with is a lot of the science, certification, management techniques that are utilized in the forest. This stuff is pretty consistent. It talks about red pine, why we thin it versus clear cut it, why we clear cut aspen. We touched a little bit upon this in chapters 200. Polk County is SSFI certified, verified by a third-party auditor, not every year, but Polk County belongs to a group certificate that auditors come somewhere in the state and certify operations in the practice of forestry somewhere on county forest every year. Polk County is SFI certified. What that does for us is, in my opinion, it buys us market share. A lot of the mills are demanding that would be certified, and all that the certification is really saying is that this wood was managed, harvested, and grown sustainably, verified by a third party. In this chapter, we talk about why we reforest, why we plant trees, how we monitor natural regeneration, how we keep our inventory up to date. I guess I'm not going to go into a lot of detail just because it's pretty standard procedures that are written in here, and management techniques, the science that we use. I guess I don't want to stand up here and read it to you line by line, but if you have specific questions, I'll address them now.
Okay. Come on. Page 15, I was just looking under some of the habitats. There's just a lot of weird deals. Is that going to be
Which section are you under?
I'm in, let's start with 820. 822.12. Go. Shade tolerance. 820.212. There. Stop on one of those.
Okay.
Okay, it says habitat. That QAP, and I see there's different habitat deals. Is that going to be in our appendix, what those mean? QAP and habitat. See what I'm saying? And then on some of these other ones, it's double A, AVDE.
Okay.
Will that be in our appendix so we know what some of those are?
If it's certainly something that you guys, I did not plan on it,
Oh, okay.
but it is something that I could put in there. Essentially, what the habitat guide does is it gives the land manager indication of how productive the soils are, simply from the standpoint of your little vegetation, your shrubs, your ground layer on the forest, kind of recovers more quickly than the trees of the forest does. So it's utilized that kind of to give you an idea of how productive the soil is, what type of trees are going to be best suited for that particular area that you're managing. If it's something that you guys want to see, I certainly can put that kind of stuff in an appendix. I did not plan on it, but
is there a link to go so we know what those letters
I think that's the good way to handle it, is I can insert a link there.
Okay, thank you.
In case anyone had any more interest, they could look it up. But
Let's see what it is.
me and Paul essentially utilize a book that's about this thick that makes reference to all these QAPs, PQGCEs, AVDE, all that stuff.
All right. Just so we can find it somewhere. All right. Anyone else? Any questions? Well, you got off easy on these today.
Moving away from the 15-year plan, I guess, a couple of items on I'm not certain when we're meeting again here, but I am going to be having the second auction. So I went out for bids on the first auction back late January. There was 5 tracks that did not sell. So I put that out for bids again. I'll be having a bid opening April 21st, and sitting on my desk right now, I've got more bids sitting in my office than I did on the first one, so that's good news. I guess whenever we have the next meeting, I'll need your approval on them. The second item would be, I leave it up to you guys. We just need to do it before October, but essentially I need to go over the 2019 results, financial results. Once I get done with that, I can put together the work plan for 2020. So I guess I'm ready to go on the results of 2019 whenever you guys are. I get it. This is kind of confusing times, but we do need to get that done prior to October.
All right, so those two things should probably go on our next. You have them? Okay. The bids and the results. Okay. Any other questions? You're good to go. Jump into number 8. Jason. Oh, okay. Sure. Okay. And that'll get us to where, when can this be sent in? We have to go through it anything else or just?
Yeah, we'll get through chapter 1000, and there's about 14.
Okay. Okay, by October. We're shooting for that, yeah. Yep. Okay. All right.
Can you hear me? Yep. All right. So the livestock facilities group put together this livestock facility study group report, and like I mentioned before, it was put on the county's website last week. The report we started on a couple months ago, and the idea or the purpose behind this report was kind of to put together all the information that we've learned as staff, and a lot of this information had already been presented to the committee before by the DNR, DATCAP, or Brian Hobbs, and through the public survey and the actual meetings that we held with all the different stakeholder groups, and that was one of the things in that they a lot of people were saying is that that we didn't do enough, that we didn't have a report like this, or we didn't take and really research the impact of CAPOs, hog CAPOs in Polk County. So this report talks a little bit about the timeline and the meetings that have been held, and it also talks about the moratorium that the county board put into place. That'd be Resolution 3319, and then about the extension of that. And then it gets into more of the key findings in the report, which are the actual impacts that various reports that have been done outside of Polk County have shown that CAPOs can have an impact on, like groundwater and the nitrates and bacteria, pesticides, everything is in there. So also in that, I took and had some text in there on the right to farm bill, and that in the Wisconsin area, because every state's got their own right to farm bill. So that's kind of all in there. It's just out there, and that for you to have some information, and that when we go into other meetings, then if you guys want to have some questions or if you get time to take and read it, we just encourage you to go through it and to see what you can find, and hopefully it helps you guys make those decisions, and that if you need to take and make any ordinance amendments.
Okay.
Questions right now?
Well, we might have a few questions, but I think it's going to go out there, and then we'll have it for the next meeting so that we can go through it a little bit and see if we found anything in it or not. Is that what we're looking for yet? Everybody else read it?
Chairman Arnold, right now it's posted on the homepage of the website. So this meeting is simply the delivery of the report. And like Jason suggested, if you have the time, please read through it. It's one of the requirements in the resolution that staff create this report and deliver it to this committee, and then ultimately it will be forwarded to the county board. If you'd like a more formal presentation, we can do that as well. But that's really the intent of today's.
Yeah, the intent today. But I'm saying that we would put it on our next one for each individual that we read through it and sign things.
Right, yes.
So that before we send it to the full board, we should have it.
Yes, sir. Right, so now you have an opportunity to review it. If you have any questions or comments, any suggestions, please bring those to the subsequent meeting and we'll discuss it.
Okay. I think that's what everybody's kind of looking for, will we? To go through it? Okay. All right. Any other questions on that? That'll come back. We'll go through it a little bit. All right. So then B, for the subdivision to get these names in there.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, after your last meeting, remember I had that rough draft that we kind of went through, and we had inserted, zoning administrator or county surveyor throughout that draft. I did talk with county surveyor Steve Geiger more about that, and that we think that that's a pretty good approach, and I think you guys were supportive of that at the last meeting, just to kind of, use our current practice to kind of fill in the blanks of who's doing what in our office. There's no hurry on that public hearing as far as scheduling that, so I guess we can probably wait on that until we can have a normal meeting. And I don't expect a lot of public participation or involvement because the main meat and bones of that ordinance isn't going to change at all. It's basically just reflecting our internal process and how we operate. So that's why I don't think we have to hurry with it either. Well, it's changing who's reviewing and who's signing off, on that. So, I mean, this is any ordinance amendment is going to take it, So, and it's basically giving, the way it's written right now, Steve Geiger, the county surveyor, to sign off on all the CSM class and that they're being recorded in the register of deeds. So, it is pretty big change from just being a director. It's kind of changing it to some things that zoning will be doing, some things the surveyor will be doing, and just throughout that process. So, but the process is the same. So.
All right, and this goes in with our number 9, that our divisional form of government, so that it fits in that we have the right people in the right position, that we're not changing that also. Is that correct? Yeah.
That is correct. It's really just a housekeeping issue and just to reflect our current internal process. And so we just want to make it correct.
So that the divisional fits with the right heading.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Any other questions in on that? All right. We should be good. Thank you, Jason. So that one we won't have to put on the next one.
It depends on how conditions change. If we're allowed to,
move it forward.
Right.
Sure.
Then we could set that public hearing. It's similar to the Stour master plan public hearing. Until conditions change.
Sure.
We don't know when we can set those dates.
All right. Okay. 8C. Discussion of the Untitled Tourist Rooming House. So we'll ask Malia, do you think our discussion that we should have to go into closed session?
Well, there, in the last letter we had received from them, they said they would have representation here. I don't know if this is the opportunity, and if they're online, to provide their perspective. Outside of that, I don't think it'd be a good practice for them to participate in closed session.
They can't participate in closed, but I don't. That's why we asked that they do it at public comment. If they had a comment.
I'm wondering if you want to see if they are online to invite.
Well, we'll get up with the debate. I mean, we'll have a lawyer, we'll have the other lawyers. I mean, we're not here to debate. No way, I don't think.
I think if you had any specific questions for them, you could ask, but my understanding is they did not intend to speak.
Oh.
So.
Does anybody have any specific questions that they know of on this letter? I didn't have any.
It doesn't look like anyone is physically present in the remote room that we had set up, and I don't know if who's represented online. But if we want to discuss it as a committee, then yes, you would need to go into.
We would. All right.
Okay, and I will say just quickly, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, this is Tom Lunan. I am on the call. I don't really intend to speak at all unless anybody has any specific questions. I know a couple of the members are also on the call just listening in, and we don't have any sort of formal presentation. I think the letter speaks for itself, but certainly if there's any questions, we are here and available to answer those on the record if you need it.
All right, thank you. I don't think we have any questions, do we? Cool. All right. So, go into closed session for Wisconsin Statute 1985-1G. We should have a roll call vote? Yeah.
I want to make sure you're aware that I'm not going to closed session. I have been working with them and understand a lot of their issues, so I just want to make it clear on the record that I'm not.
We will take a roll call. So, okay. So those in favor to go into closed session, was it unanimous? Roll call? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay. So it's unanimous. And we'll make sure the clerk notes who's in the closed session and we'll close the door.
I'm not so worried about the doors. I'm more worried about the technology.
Yeah, okay.
Is this the last item on the agenda?
No, there's just divisional form of government.
So I would suggest that we go through the divisional form of government before you go into closed session. And that way you wouldn't have to pause everyone from participating. We could simply end their participation in the WebEx at the time of the closed session if everyone is comfortable with that.
Everybody comfortable with that? Is it still on there? You didn't mute everybody yet? No, we want to go to the divisional then, and then put this at the very end. Yes. So we'll do 9 and 10, then we'll do 9C. Okay. Yep, we want to get at least something like that.
Was there a motion to amend the agenda, or we just? Can you hear me okay? Well, Shabana, do you mind putting up, I believe it was that last document I sent this morning? Yes. This document's in your packet as well, the PDF. I believe it's the last page. It's the organizational chart. It's like most of you have it. Boy, that's busy. Yeah, there's a lot. Well, this is the latest product. This is a process. Staff, we have basically recruited a cross-section of staff that have served as an advisory on this. We've met. We did go through a little bit of a SWOT analysis as well. As you all know, county government has now moved towards the division model, and I think we're second to the last one. And this is the product so far. Hopefully it's self-explanatory. I will point out some of the core functions, primarily for, I guess, this position, the Environmental Services Director. This position basically combines two department heads and includes forestry and parks as well as register of deeds. The department heads I'm referring to were Land and Water and the Land Information Director. The Land Information Director also served as the Land Information Officer, or LIO, and the Land and Water Director also served as the County Conservationist. The primary functions for the division director are in the box on the left there. Really, it's about managing staff, developing a budget, coordinating projects, and particularly outside of our core functions. So, for example, like the CAFO report or the Stour Trail. So, we're coordinating, doing that project management. Another key piece is really improving communication within not only internally with staff, but also externally, which is our constituents, with our elected officials, with the county administrator. This person also will not only serve as that liaison between elected officials and staff and the broader community, but also work with personnel issues as well. This person is also responsible for interviewing and selecting hiring. There's also a real need to do some team building because we have gone through a lot of change. There's a lot of ambiguity out there, so this person's responsible for building a team and a team approach to things. Professional development as well, procurement, time reporting, performance reviews over direct staff, and the team leaders, our annual work plans, determining performance measures and making sure those performance measures are met, goal setting, and strategic planning, which we ultimately will get to. Also, if you notice within the organizational chart, particularly under land information and land and water resources, what we have is 2 team leaders. And we can be really flexible on this. But because of the requirement for a county conservationist and also the statutory requirement for a land information officer, the idea that we come up with is we would assign a team leader. Our team leader is not management, but they would be responsible for not only the roles of a county conservationist and LIO, but also be that sort of face of the department. And so they can answer direct questions from our customers, our clientele. They could bring internal issues to the director. Just really the face of the department. Notice in business operations we have both our GIS coordinator and our county planner under there. And the reason they're there is because, well, they can transcend to other departments, not only within the division, but throughout the county. They could serve functions for all divisions. And that particular area has they're directly supervised from the Environmental Services Director. Any questions? We're working through it, and it seems to be working. In fact, right now we're kind of at the place of deciding who the team leader is. And to be honest with you, I can make those recommendations. But right now it's clearly with Land and Water, it's Eric Wojciech. And I'm just sharing that with you all because I would like, with your endorsement, to officially assign him as team leader, as well as county conservation. The land and information piece, our team leader, I think there could be some internal folks interested in that position, and I would like to probably open that up internally with them and see who's interested and go through some type of vetting process with that. Eric has a lot of experience in conservation. Through this COVID crisis, he's really stepped up and played an essential role with our EOC. He has great leadership skills. I think you all know him. He works great with our customers and our clientele. He's been here a long time, and I would highly recommend him to be the team leader.
Do you want the committee to recommend, or this is under your discretion? Comes under your, okay. Okay. Okay, any other questions then on the division form? It's getting there, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems to be working. I mean, we're working through things. I think we have a really good staff. We really do. And they all really are high performers. Again, through this COVID crisis, some of us are working teleworking and contact them on a pretty regular basis. They've really been providing a lot of output, doing a lot of work. So I've been very pleased with that outcome.
All right. If not any questions, then we'll do what we need on our next calendar. Then, we probably need, 2 weeks? Because the 20th is organizational.
I think the clerk suggested for them either April 29th or May 6th, their recommendations to the next Environmental Services Committee.
Do we know if anything time-wise or anything that has to be on the 29th? Is start at the 6th?
Again, it's the public hearings are the two things that are really ambiguous right now. We just don't know.
Then we can do them, sure. What else do we have to go on there? We have...
Let me grab that.
Grab that. See what there's at stake.
Yeah, again, the public hearing for the Stour. We could have a proposal, a more formal proposal, regarding the Trail Advisory Group in place within 2 weeks. If you find it helpful, we can at least start to brainstorm some individuals that would serve on that committee or group.
Okay, so the trail group. How about the CAFO more that we...
Right.
The study document that we should go over.
Yep. Mark has, again, chapter 1000, and then that overall comprehensive final review of the entire plan. And after listening to him, that could happen as early as next meeting or...
Okay. That would get it done so we can move his public hearing up too.
But yeah, Chairman O'Connor will be the CAFO report.
The Trail Committee, chapter 1000. He also had bids coming in.
Right, the approval of those forest bids. Right.
So he would have that also.
Add that in the 2019 financial review.
Okay. So that if these meetings are like this, it would maybe be worth doing it on the 29th, wouldn't it?
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
Well, if you've got the main things, in the future, I'd like to discuss the shoreland protection zoning ordinance, specifically the lake classification system. I'd like to have a discussion about that.
Oh.
It'll include Leah.
Yeah, if this would have been full, that could be put on there. Get it started.
Can be then or the next meeting after.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I do have one thing that would be good to put on the next meeting, and that would be the final plat review for Foxwood First Edition. It's a plat in the town of Farmington that could go for the 29th or the 6th, and that does not require a public hearing. So,
okay, we could get that done too, and get that. And that would be for discussion. Yours would be for discussion first only. Okay.
The lake classification districts. The discussion.
For discussion.
It's the Polk County lake classification.
Okay. Well, for now, for the 29th, if we say, I would say it's at least make sure that that'll fill a meeting.
Any others, Jason?
Fill a meeting. Anyone else? Anything? Okay. We should be good. We're still on?
The remainder, once the committee reconvenes after their short break, the only matter left on the agenda will be the closed session and then going back into open session for purposes of adjourning. There won't be any announcements, so we will be ending the WebEx live stream. Thank you.